Real people, real radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The wicked ones obviously under heavy Masonic influence. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kristan H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
What up, guys? We are live here. It is Monday, February 2nd, live here on the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. Mike Pichesney, Kristan Harrison. We have a guest tonight. Dyer is coming on the show. And you know what we're going to be talking about tonight, Kristan? The good old Super Bowl.
The Cronite, because the Packers didn't make it.
The Cronite. Like the knife.
Like Kniggets in the medieval times?
Yes. I'm trying to get in the mood.
Yes, I can understand. Yeah, the Super Bowl was pretty interesting. I saw the halftime show. In fact, a couple.
We all saw the halftime show.
Yeah. you see Katy Perry, hold on for dear life while she was singing away there. And
yes, we're gonna get all into it. And it's interesting because it's all about what you want to see, isn't it? I mean, what do you want to see when you're looking at this stuff?
Well, sure. Some people are going to just see entertainment, and others are going to see more in depth as maybe it's a ritual. But what's interesting, the whole day was very interesting. A couple of listeners from the Milwaukee Wave came in and stopped in and saw me, and one of them just recently got traded to St. Louis, Anthony Arrico, and it was like emotional for him. So it was very interesting. But they kept giving me a hard time all night because they listened to the show. And they heard when I mentioned that some guy asked me if I listened to Loose Change. Remember that, Mike? I told you some old guy came in my bar and asked me if I've ever heard of Loose Change. So all night they were like, have you heard Loose Change? Did you see Loose Change? And they're just giving me a hard time all night asking me if I saw Loose Change. So it was very interesting.
Well, have you ever seen Loose Change?
Son of a gun, Mike. Seriously?
I was just wondering.
Yeah, I've seen there's two versions. I saw the first and the second. I believe there's a third.
You've seen all three versions of Loose Change.
Well, that's why they were laughing, because they know that I have absolutely seen Loose Change, and we talked 9/11. And, they're conspiracy theorists, and they listen to the show. And Anthony is going to the St. Louis ambush there, and, they were hanging out because he leaves next thing. And that shows how unstable sports are, Mike, how the next day you can be traded and then 2 days later
what organization you're in. I mean, something like the NFL, it depends what level athlete you are. If you're a high level athlete, that's not necessarily going to happen. But if you're just a low level third string guy, your job is limited, man. If somebody can outplay you or you're screwed in a sport or like an industry like that. But isn't that really life in general, Kristan? I mean, if you don't perform, I mean, they're going to get people who can. I mean, that's any industry.
Well, not only that, it could be financial. If you're overpaid or whatever, they might get rid of you because of payroll limits and things like that, because you're obviously maybe not performing, or maybe you are, who knows, and the team offered better or offered more items for you. You never know, man. It can change your life real quick, and it shows how quickly and how
soccer's one of those sports too. Like, it's not in high demand in Milwaukee or really in America. Yeah, there's a lot of fans, but it's
a growing sport
elsewhere in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like going to play football American style in Europe. It just doesn't work. They've tried it. It doesn't work. People aren't interested. They're interested in soccer. That's what they want to play, and it's called football over there. You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
soccer is growing.
Completely different subject. Dyer. He's a philosophy guy. He likes to get in depth and analyze films and, research what's really going on with the news and the narrative of the media. So we're going to get into, what I saw at the Super Bowl and what he saw at the Super Bowl, and, kind of talk about some of these ads, because I don't know how much you got to pay attention, Kristan.
I was working and I was dealing with emotional athletes who had just been
Yeah,
traded.
right. You did mention that, and there was an ad campaign going on that was very obvious, and I want Jay to go into detail into what he saw, but it seemed to be, a very pro-feminist woman message, like have your daughter join the military and women's empowerment, and there's nothing wrong with that, but very targeted advertisement where every ad is following that same kind of guideline during.
Well, it's Hillary Clinton. They need to build up the female hype and empower women so people can envision Hillary, who's married to William Clinton, who likes to hang out with the guys who hang out at those illegal islands where they do naughty things.
Right. So anyway, we're going to get into all that.
Yeah.
It'll
go a long way.
Minutes. We should probably talk about the site and stuff before we pull them in.
Sure, guys. If you guys have not had a chance to yet, make sure you guys head on down to the rundownlive.com. There we have a plethora of information. We have new articles up daily. Make sure you guys visit, read those articles, and then share them on your Facebook, your Twitter, and all the different social media networks out there. In fact, we post all those articles on our Rundown Live Facebook. So if you add us on the Rundown Live Facebook, you can actually share it straight from our Facebook, and that would make it easier for you guys than maybe going to our website. So check that out, therundownlive.com. If you're interested in supporting what Mike and I do, there's a couple different ways. One of the ways is if you're visiting the website is to check out Private Internet Access. Private Internet Access allows you to surf the internet anonymously. You can check your emails, download, conversate, do cool things like avoid Reddit bans and video game bans. It's $39.95. That's for a total of 5 PCs, and that's for ultimate privacy. I suggest you guys get that. Part of that purchase supports what Mike and I do here, Private Internet Access. It's awesome, so check it out. It's as important as antivirus. Speaking of which, guys, if you haven't yet got your 2015 antivirus, check out Nod32 Antivirus. It's the banner on the website there on the right-hand side. Part of that purchase, again, supports what we do here. That's how we stay afloat. Get your protection for antivirus and privacy from the Rundown Live. Check that out. Support us today. If you'd like to listen to us live, there's no better way than TuneIn Radio. TuneIn Radio is a free app. It's available for your cell phone or tablet PC. Just follow us on there. Type in the Rundown Live. You'll get Mike and I and all the other awesome broadcasters from Truth Frequency Denver 90.7 FM. So follow us on there. And if you haven't yet, download the Rundown Live app. That's also free. That's also available on just about every imaginable platform out there, including the Google Play Store for your Google App Store, the iPhone App Store, the iTunes Store, the Amazon.com Store, the Windows Store, Stitcher, and we could go on and on and on. Blueberry, go check it out. Type the Rundown Live if you got an application program. See if you get us. It allows you to get our past episodes. Listen to us at your convenience. You can send us emails straight from the app, and you can access both our Facebook and our Twitter from the app. It's awesome. So check that out. We put that out there for you for free, and it's a huge tool. Download it on your friends' cell phone so they can get us.
I actually tried the app on a Windows 8 tablet, and it was actually really nice.
Really?
The Windows app for the Rundown Live.
I'll have to check that out.
You got to have Windows 8.
I tell you what, guys, if anyone goes to Best Buy, maybe you guys should download the app to the little Best Buy laptops and leave the Rundown Live on all the laptop screens and tablets and download those apps right
No, don't listen to Kristan. We don't encourage anything that may be interpreted as illegal.
No, I'm just kidding, guys.
No, I don't even know if that would be bad, but definitely load up the website.
You can. I don't see why not, because
don't be downloading. Don't be downloading.
But just throwing that out there. So, also on Thinker Syndication, FPR and Radio, Liberty Talk FM, Liberty Movement Radio, Truth Frequency Radio, 90.7 FM Denver. Thank you guys for tuning in. And there's no better way to listen to us than live in the chat. That's the rundownlive.com/live. And there you can chat with Mike and I. And I have to mention, Mike, did you catch that episode of the Slam Down Live?
I actually did get to check out the Slam Down Live. It was a very cool. Bill, Chad, and Adam Liberty regular callers, chat roomers, did an awesome job. And they even went for 2 hours, Kristan.
Right? Yeah, I saw that they were ranting and raving. They were doing a pretty good job. It was very interesting to see their opinions on things and their thoughts on the Rundown Live. And you know what, Mike? It's really rewarding. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing some activists affected by what you do, and it's for the better. You know what I'm saying? When you can make a positive impact on someone's life, that's an amazing thing.
And that being said, our friend Jay Dyer, I believe, has just joined us on the line. Jay Dyer of jaysanalysis.com. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I had to turn down my Katy Perry. I'm flitting about my car as I'm driving, listening to all the Katy Perry Super Bowl ritual songs.
Yes. It was apparently very important because they had to get their goddess to perform their yearly ritual in front of, if not millions, billions of people last night.
Yeah, it was something else, wasn't it? It was, and we all expected it. We kind of knew that we had seen this in the past with Madonna and all these other pretty much openly occultic pop stars. I saw an interview with Madonna where she said before her big Super Bowl performance that it very much was a ritual. She says literally in the interview, she says, I'm coming into the Holy of Holies. It's a ritual, and very open about it. So, no doubt.
Well, I mean, even the whole lion was made out of pyramids. It was all symbolic. There was definitely symbolism there, including the 3D viewpoint with the ultimately large, what was that, a LCD TV or LCD, a huge LCD TV that they had on the ground there, where they
the 3D video stage, right?
So that was, it was impressive. I would have to say that, and there definitely was a ton of symbolism.
Yeah, it starts. We've got her coming out, the woman riding the beast. In my article, I wrote about how that's pretty obvious Revelation or Apocalypse chapter 17 imagery, where the whore, which is a sort of a Babylonian mystery religion style cult that is used by
Semiramis, right?
The beast in the Apocalypse of John. The beast is symbolized by the state, and so you have the state, using this. The symbol functions on several levels. So she represents false religion, pagan religion, so forth, as well as being utilized by she rides the beast, right? So she's part of this system, and in my perspective, this isn't being portrayed according to the way most Bible believing persons out there would view it. It's being portrayed as being put forth as a kind of ritual from a hermetic or an occultic perspective, and they actually have their own views of the Book of Revelation, very different from the way the typical Bible type person would view it. They view it as something that's more like a magical document where the symbology that's involved, can actually be incarnated or evoked. And so when Katy takes on these different roles, which is another important aspect to look at in terms of the halftime show itself. Before I get to that, though, what it does is that, in their view, it functions as a magical document, Book of Revelation, where you play these roles out in a kind of drama liturgy, which is a worship service, and by that you then achieve the effect in the psyche of the viewing audience out there.
It was definitely bizarre. And, one of the first things I noticed before Katy Perry even came out, they showed what I believe to be was a sun. Do you remember that? Like, one of the very first things they showed was a round orb, and it was orange.
Yes.
And the first thing that I thought was, oh, there's the sun. And then Katy Perry comes out riding on the monster beast lion thing. And then, what I thought was interesting, Jay, is how she proceeded across what I believe to be the sun. Do you think there's any significance to that? Something stood out to that.
Right. There's two. Again, like you said, it does have a sun image, but there's multiple layers to this, in my view. So I think it was also an eye, because she has the song, the eye of the tiger. So she's crossing through the eye of the beast while she's riding the beast, but it also looks like a sun as well. And so when we think of ancient mythology, Phaethon in Greek mythology rides his chariot into the sun, and that is very much a sort of a Luciferian image, where we have in that mythology, it's kind of a Promethean type of story where it's this sort of riding against nature, riding against what's the established order into the sun or across the sun, or like Prometheus, man, rebelling against the gods and stealing the fire of the sun. And so with her in her lion chariot, crossing the eye or the sun, you're absolutely right. It's all there. It's all wrapped up into that. Now, from there, what I thought was neat was that she goes to this dais, or this platform that sort of raises up, kind of like, looks like a ziggurat, which was the Babylonian, version of the pyramid, which is sort of stacked up blocks like something from Minecraft. And she, dismounts the chariot beast, and she ascends to the top of that platform, which becomes, of course, the Masonic floorboard. And this wasn't standard, Freemasonry, which historically has been male. This was a sort of an inversion even of that, where it was very much about the goddess, and it was very feminine. And so from there, she switches to her, she does the lesbian bit, and then she turns into the good girl, right? So she's back to being good girl Katy Perry with these beach balls and
the child friend Katy Perry, right?
Exactly, right. So I get the impression from that this is kind of evoking the imagery of possibly a monarch sex slave or some kind of a person who is playing different roles, and we, the viewing audience, while we're seeing her portray these different roles in these fictional scenarios, we're not aware of what she's really into. And you can find articles, I've seen articles where she's actually been inducted into different secret societies. She was at there's one, I think it's either Harvard or Yale, Yale, I think, where she partook of rituals inducting her into whatever the group is that does the Lampoons, the Lampoon magazine. They should have a secret society, meets in a crypt. Now, yeah, on one level, that's a lot of satire and joking around. But at the same time, this is in the vicinity of Skull and Bones. So, again, not that Katy Perry would be inducted into Skull and Bones, but Yale actually has societies for women, too. There's Scroll and Key, Wolf's Head. So there are different secret societies at Yale, not just for men. So we have her transitioning to the good girl, and then she becomes what looked to me like a kind of Columbia type of imagery, where she's the star, and they raise her up into the heavens, and she sort of partakes of apotheosis, or this ascension of the goddess into the heavens. She's one of the stars now, which, of course, in my view, harkens back to more of that Crowleyan type of imagery, where he said every man and woman is a star. So essentially, that the goal of not all men, but the goal of the initiate of the different cultic orders or the different hermetic secrets is the one who's going to achieve the sort of godhood, apotheosis, and deification.
And that's why she got to be raised above everyone and floated around and she was the goddess. I mean,
Right.
and you saw the transformation. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to really like see what happened there. The problem is, people don't want to believe it, Jay. People don't want to think that this is all for a reason, that this could potentially really be a ritual. They're just like, no, this is just a performance and this is just all for fun. And like you said earlier,
it's for
she was
predictive
just
programming.
riding a tiger, Jay. It was the eye of the tiger.
Well, I mean, think back to the conversations we've had in the past about these topics. I cited, literary scholars, even James Fraser in The Golden Bough, where he talks about the history of acting and performance, stagecraft, and music itself, all the way back, to ancient Greece, was all about the invocation of God. That's what it was about at that time. And, even up into the Renaissance with the masked balls of the Renaissance, nobility, that same principle is at work. And we even have interviews with, actors and performers, even modern day, you can find on YouTube where they talk about using the Stanislavski method, which is method acting, where you take on the persona or the spirit of a dead person or something like that. So, whether or not that really happened can be debated, but in the mind of the persons involved, that's what the intended effect is.
That's very interesting that you mentioned that, Jay. I was going through the Library of Congress a couple weeks ago, and I was looking up old Illuminati meetings and things of that nature. I can't tell you how many of them tied into acting and theater plays that were tied with the Illuminati symbolism and people writing about them in the late 1800s and early 1900s and how it was being used as propaganda. Even back then, people knew. And here you see the same tricks, the same games today. Remember Jim Carrey? What was that? He was on the Jim Kimmel show or something like that, and he had the all-mocking tongue. He was saying that all actors are part of the Illuminati jokingly, but who knows? Maybe he's not joking,
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I wouldn't, it's not going to be all the actors, but you're absolutely right that it's something that's gone on for a long time. I mean, the history of the occult ties into stagecraft because there's obviously a clear connection between tricking people, achieving the alteration of the audience's perception is a big part of stage magic as much as it is of, what people who are occultists would like to do, as well as people who are in military and intelligence. And so there's a tie-in directly to that as well, because military intelligence work oftentimes deals with the alteration of perception in a target audience. So if you have an enemy, you want to change their perception, then you utilize all these different methods and means. And really, it's just kind of what Shakespeare said. The world's a stage, and so statecraft is really no different than stagecraft, which is no different than tradecraft, which is no different than the craft, right?
So if you're just acting, it's real in a sense. If you're a pilot as an actor, then what's the difference between being a pilot in real life at that point? Because to them, it's real.
And really, the power in it is in whether or not you have convinced the audience that what they saw was real, right? So whether or not you are incarnating, Shiva or Columbia or whatever goddess you're after in your, Guy Fieri shirt that you're wearing. Look at me like Katy Perry had on like a women's version of Guy Fieri, the crazy cook. But whatever god or goddess that you're incarnating, doesn't really matter whether or not you're actually doing it if, just pragmatically speaking, if the effect in the audience, mass mind, is to view you that way, right? So, if Katy Perry walked around in the audience, they would all be treating her as a goddess, right? Because they just saw this show that lifted her into the heavens. And,
well, right, she's above human, right?
So she's altered the perceptions of the mass to view her that way, and that's really the pragmatic power and effect of this big mass media complex. That's really where their power lies. It's kind of a Wizard in the Oz or Wizard of Oz, the man
Well,
behind the
you
curtain.
wrote an article as well about a week ago, maybe, about CIA and Hollywood, and I think this ties into Hollywood. How it's the same thing. They're all
They
elevated.
give money. They give money to be able to incorporate their ideas in Hollywood. And I think that's very interesting as well, because they want to, if you want to know how a real life war situation goes, they'll actually help your film out, such as, was that American Sniper there?
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, you guys nailed it. I mean, the only way that production companies are able to use tanks and aircraft carriers and so forth is if they have the okay of the different military liaisons and intelligence liaisons in Hollywood. And it goes even beyond that. A lot of people are aware of that. But my view, in that article that you mentioned, I dug up a whole bunch of pieces of evidence that suggest that the influence is a lot more than just, signing some piece of paper to allow you to utilize military craft if you portray the military in a good light. It goes far beyond that. I mean, you have so many of these performers, their families were involved in military and intelligence. You have so many of the cult connections. We think about groups like Scientology. These have clear Hollywood and intelligence, what I call just a dark nexus.
Well, hold that thought, Jay, because we're about to go to break here, and we got a 3-minute break on Truth Frequency, and I definitely want to come back to this Hollywood tie to government and manipulation. I do want to ask about American Sniper, but I
also want to touch on the 2013 Super Bowl, because remember then 2013 was the Sandy Hook kids.
We're not done. We're not done. We got to get into gender programming. Yep. We'll be back in 3 minutes, guys. We're hanging out with Jay Dyer, jaysanalysis.com.
Degrees of Insanity with Donnie Gilson.
Sunday, Truth Frequency Radio. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kriston H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
The rundown.
We're hanging out here with our friend Jay Dyer. jaysanalysis.com is his website, and he likes to look a little deeper into things and tie it into some of his knowledge he has researched over the last, what would you say, 20 years, man, where you've been studying all this occult ties to Hollywood and government and philosophy and all this stuff.
Even the road layouts in Washington, it's very interesting. I enjoy Jay's work as well because it ties into ancient Babylonian mystery religion and secret societies very often, and I find that stuff fascinating. So, very good.
Yeah, I don't know, probably 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there, yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting topic, Jay. It really is, because, a lot of people just want to poo-poo this stuff off. Like, even this halftime show. Oh, it's just a halftime show. But is it really? You're talking about something that was watched by millions of people. The most attention in the world, really, was on this event last night.
Well, look at who they used that event to promote. They had Katy Perry, and then they had, I couldn't even believe who they brought out next. Was that Missy Elliott? How is she even relevant? I mean, what were they wearing? And then Katy Perry put on like a jacket that was like 5 sizes too big for her.
49, bro.
I had no idea.
I
was
ridiculous. I was waiting for Curtis Blow and Kid and Play to come out.
And then Lenny Kravitz. What was he doing there? It was like,
well, it was 20 years ago, apparently.
Since he wrote a song.
I guess they let her pick her favorite 90s stuff. I don't know.
It's a bit ridiculous, but what we did see was Katy Perry being put on this pedestal. And Jay, you were really breaking it down before.
And that she's not afraid of heights, obviously.
Right. She
was
floated
gripping
around
on for real dear life. I'm sure I would be.
WWF learned the hard way from doing shit like that. Let me tell you,
Really?
they learned the hard way.
Some history. I never heard this.
You never heard of the guys falling from rafters from all these stunts that they've done?
One of the Hart brothers,
No.
right?
Yeah, Owen Hart used to get dropped down from the rafters, and Shawn Michaels used to swing down. They've been doing this stuff for years, but then guys started dying. But apparently,
mysteriously, wasn't there money?
Well,
Doesn't
Isn't
mind.
that a conspiracy? I think I read a conspiracy about that. Had a deal with money, maybe, and then these wrestlers for contract reasons were dying.
It's funny you say that because this being my virgin voyage for the Super Bowl, I've never cared about it. This is my first full viewing of it. I wanted to deconstruct the propaganda and the esoteric symbolism involved. To me, it was very childish. It seemed like I remember a fourth grade birthday party where we all went and watched No Holds Barred, that movie with Hulk Hogan, and afterwards I think we all wrestled and somebody threw a punch. And there was
that's what you do, man.
drama. There was drama involved, so my virgin voyage for the full Super Bowl felt like a fourth grade birthday party, just in terms of the level of
But that was being a kid. You saw a football game, and then you went outside and played football. You saw Ninja Turtles, you picked up a stick, and you whacked the kid next to you as soon as you could. That's what it was.
But watching this thing, though, it was so dumbed down and childish. I felt like including all these dumb commercials. I felt like it was like a kid's show. You know what I mean? Like, you got all these commercials where everybody's a complete moron. Men are all complete morons, and this ties into Katy Perry being lifted up as the goddess, because it really, really was about a social engineering message. Stepping aside from the occult level, that raising of the goddess has the significance of being tied in with all of these commercials where men are complete morons and fools. And there was even that one ad about how girls don't need to be. We can't say that girls run like girls. Complete weirdness. Not the dad offering his daughter off to the military establishment to go be killed on the front line.
Transgenderism, man. That's the new thing.
It's just it's insanity, right?
Well, it's programming, that's for sure.
You got to use the same bathroom as a girl, and when you piss on a toilet seat to revolt, you know what? I don't know.
Well, let me tell you something.
They're going to scream. They're going to want.
It was a car ad. A car ad. What does that have to do with cars?
Nothing.
Right?
And that's the thing. I noticed from an outside party that they said that the ads were very sad. So, they were using emotional heartstrings to manipulate people's minds into this, like, it would seem to be very feminine ad campaign, really geared towards women and women's empowerment. And I got that vibe really hard.
Absolutely. And ironically, this is in the midst of what's supposed to be America's great manly ritual, right? The Super Bowl and football, NFL, pseudo manly, faux manly activities. It's all fake. It's all a bunch of ads and camera tricks and so forth and hype. Not that those guys aren't buff but they don't care about anything else, right? We're sitting here honoring all the troops when the establishment kills the troops with vaccines. You know what I mean? It's just complete hypocrisy.
Well, I guess it's to keep up that illusion. That's
your safety.
The whole thing is a show. So, they dance around the puppet, Katy Perry. They initiate their propaganda campaign on the masses because they have all the attention. It's really in your face. And, as guys who see this, it's like, okay, now what? We identify this. Well, it's obvious why they're feminizing the masses. They're attacking the family, and they want a more feminized America. They don't want, manly, independent men who go out and start their own businesses and become hardworking mechanics or construction workers or trash men or whatever various career, you could do. They want you to be afraid, and, the state is now your mom and everything's fine, and Katy Perry's going to take care of you, right?
Exactly. It's if you a feminized populace is a pacifist populace, and a pacifist populace will accept whatever Big Daddy State says, and that's kind of how Obama came out at the beginning as this ridiculous pregame interview where he's brewing beer in the White House, which is completely preposterous because if you noticed, he threw in these bizarre innuendos. I don't know if you heard the interview, but he said that they make beer honey, and the honey came from Michelle's garden. What in the world was that?
I heard Michelle's got a garden out front. I did hear that.
That's interesting.
Well, I mean,
guys.
honey doesn't come from a garden. I mean, I don't know what that meant, but it sounds pretty disgusting to me.
But it just shows how. I was going to say, it just shows how important this whole ritual is. This whole Super Bowl ritual has become, and the way they use it to propagandize everything. I mean, I wanted to mention the Sandy Hook thing because now we know that 0 people reported dead at the Sandy Hook incident, based on police numbers. And here we had children that survived it at the last 2013 halftime show. And look how they used that to program America and predictively, install these ideas in them. It was all a social engineering project. It was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to look far. Don't forget the Olympics ceremonies too. Those were tremendously deep ritual events with all these bizarre references to 7/7 with the buses coming out and looking like they're exploding, and at the last Olympics, that is, and the big babies with the big demon over the baby. Just really, really weird stuff.
I do remember that.
Yeah, that was insane. All that
for the Olympics. Yeah, like what the F? Yeah. Like what is that even relevant?
So what I'm getting at here is that if you're skeptical, why does this keep happening at all these big sports events? I mean, it clearly it has an intended purpose, and there's a clear pattern of a lot of this symbology.
And that's what I was talking about yesterday after watching this stuff. I was trying to convince myself why are they doing this in front of everyone? And you say they in air quotes, but there's some thought into this stuff. These rituals. Somebody decided, hey, we're gonna put the Masonic checkerboard into this stage.
And they had the chessboard. They had chess pieces because we know chess is the favorite game of the Masonic order and the Illuminati, allegedly.
Well, yeah. Think of the grand chessboard by Zbigniew Brzezinski, right? The world is a chessboard, and we're puppets that are played as pawns on the chessboard of the globe. We're players in this big play. And when it comes to what we were talking about earlier, I recommend the article, "The Dark Nexus of the CIA and Hollywood," because the dark marriage of the CIA and Hollywood, because it gets into all of these different connections between intelligence, CIA, and Hollywood. And you see, again, it's far more extensive, far more prevalent than most people would think. And that's how this stuff is done. So when you say, well, why would they do that? Okay, so they want to change people's perception. Well, how could they do that? I mean, that's just crazy. Well, they do it by controlling these industries, these big industries, where these CEOs and these producers and so forth call the shots, have all of these big, intelligence ties, and that's how it's done. And there's a long history of that, from Jim Morrison's dad being involved in military intelligence to, the mamas and the papas, their family were intelligence, high-up intelligence families, all the way back to Ian Fleming creating James Bond. Ian Fleming was, of course, high-level British intelligence and PSYOP. psyop expert. So, I mean, this is a very, very common thing. It's not new. It goes on all the time.
Well, even a guy like Tom Clancy, there was rumors, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, it's far more
Jim Garrow
prevalent
said that on our show.
Yeah, well, you've got all these, these Jack Ryan movies, and they're based, around Dr. Steve Pachenik, who, Alex Jones has all the time. So, yeah, that's a high-level psyops guy. So, again, it's everywhere in Hollywood. So, there's that book by John, I think his name's John Rizzo, if I got the name right, but it's called Company Man, and he talks about connections with recruiting actors and actresses to be spies. And, of course, it's no different than with the music industry. Miles Copeland was a long-time famous CIA operative. He wrote Game of Nations, and he is the relative of Stuart Copeland of the police.
It's just crazy how easily they can, manipulate someone into, just doing whatever they want. Yeah, you're in this spotlight like someone like Katy Perry, but if you want to continue being in the spotlight, you're just going to do what we say. And if it's, become a spy or whatever, you're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what abuse has happened, what threats have happened. I mean, it's not just a money game. There could be it could be all the above. Who knows?
Well, I saw you brought up, I think it was in one of your articles, Britney Spears and the idea of when she shaved her head, and then you have to think about people like Michael Jackson, and there's been so many cases where people that, were even just on borderline weirdness get manipulated almost, it seems.
Well, and who was her boyfriend at that time? He was apparently this military intelligence guy who was busy flying ambassadors around in Afghanistan, and he got shot down. That was in the news, a couple of weeks ago. Now, I don't know for sure if this guy had any nefarious contact or control in terms of Britney Spears, but I'm just saying it raises questions that why are all of these these military guys and these intelligence guys having all these direct contacts, interactions with all these top Hollywood stars?
Well, wouldn't you, Jay? I mean, if you worked for like the NSA and you could get Britney Spears Instagram and
hey, Brittany, I know you're cheating on your husband. What do you want to do here?
She's going out to eat, right?
Isn't that what Obamacare was about? The judge got put in the back room and probably got pinched because he was cheating or something, and so he came out crying and it's a tax. I mean,
there's blackmail goes on, sure, all that stuff, absolutely.
I mean, that's what's wrong with the NSA. If they're surveilling everyone, they have the ability to blackmail anyone, and you already see it being used. You see NSA workers abusing it. You see cops abusing Stingray technology, listening in, girlfriends' telephone conversations and lovers' telephone conversations.
So if you're an elevated celebrity status, wouldn't you be a target? These people with that power.
For blackmail, absolutely.
Yeah, who's going to stop them from spying on what you're doing and able to?
And there's going to be truth in their sin. They're going to make mistakes, and there's going to be no privacy, and the state's going to be there just to mess up everyone's freaking life.
Yeah, and they can get you by different means. I mean, they can get you with buying you or with blackmail. So, like in that John Rizzo book, he says, we wanted to recruit, top A-list actors and actresses because if you think about it, they have access to places most people don't. They're going to be invited to parties internationally that, the average unknown spy guy is not going to be able to go to, right?
Yeah, would you see Katy Perry?
The logic is obvious.
Yeah, did you go over and see Kim Jong, and did you like his bedroom? How'd that look? Right. What did he eat? What were his favorite hors d'oeuvres? Right.
Maybe she hung out with Dennis Rodman too, right? Dennis Rodman was probably.
Oh yeah, they're friends. What were you gonna say, Jay?
Julia Child, the British TV cook. She worked for MI5. She was a spy for MI5. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Hey, you learned something. Wow.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all at this point, Jay. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I'll probably look it up later just to make certain.
Look it up. Natalie Portman's grandmother was a spy for.
I heard that.
Yeah.
MI5. Yeah.
but none of this even surprises me anymore. These type of individuals that have those connections would become
Targeted,
celebrities, and their children, would get this elevated role in the
Look what they're
Hollywood
involved
life,
in.
right? Or music industry or whatever, because then they can manipulate people as needed or not. I mean, I'm just saying it makes it a lot easier if it's family,
Well,
right?
And it's Illuminati rule to put people in debt or blackmail them any way possible to put themselves in.
Well, it's like
positions of
royalty.
empowerment.
It's like royalty in a sense too.
Yeah,
You're
it is.
making people.
Coco Chanel perfume and fashion. Coco Chanel was a spy.
Yes.
She was a spy for the Germans.
So I mean, that's crazy. You wouldn't even to me that's bizarre, but why? But yeah, because she had access to men and information.
Well, look at Jim Garrow. Whoever thought that he was going to be a CIA agent, or allegedly, he was over there.
He wasn't though. No, he wasn't. He wasn't, Kristan. So how are you gonna it's his word against the government? Okay, government says he wasn't. Jim Garrow says he was, and he has a lot of interesting information. So it's whose word do you take? You can't really
Really hard,
take the government's word as gold, because we all know that's not true. So it's an interesting predicament. That's why we like to have Jim on and talk with him and see what he has to say. But Jay, the whole idea of the Super Bowl and this ritual thing that we've seen for years, like you mentioned earlier, Madonna, and it's been going on for a long time, I think. I don't know. How long do you think is this just the new thing? Every event is a ritual and just get used to it? Or what's going on with this? Is this going to be...
The NBA is heading that way too. Everything's heading that way. Look at the NBA.
Yeah, everything's heading the way towards being a kind of a big reality show production. So it's almost like, if you notice, as we said, the commercials tied in with the message that was portrayed in, the halftime show. So it's almost like all of it's going to blend together. Like we're going to have a reality sports league and the commercials will just be part of the actual league itself. I mean, it's weird. It's all blending into just one monotone, monoculture, basically.
It's like the XFL slowly becoming real. No, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, it is. It's a big theater, and it's all blending into the same thing, right? I mean, government is Hollywood for ugly people, and look at how. I mean, you have Obama there, brewing beer and talking about, giving innuendos.
Obama beer, you want some, Jay.
Hey, what if it was really good though? I mean, maybe
it's real tasty. Kristan wants some too. See,
maybe his talent isn't really presidency; it's brewing beer, and he makes.
That's why he's in there. You figured it out.
But it's all basically turning into one big long commercial. I mean, that's really all it is. The whole thing is a commercial.
And, people tune in to these events to watch the commercials. They want to be programmed. So let's just, if they want to be programmed, Jay, let them be programmed. But at least there's guys like you out there and, letting them know, hey, there's a little bit more to what you're seeing. And, you do a great job of that. Your site is awesome. You do in-depth reviews of movies and all kinds of stuff. So if you guys haven't checked out Jay's website, jaysanalysis.com, make sure you check it out. I know you're a contributor for us on the Rundown Live, but, go over to Jay's website and check it out.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I definitely enjoy Rundown Live, and I read you guys post quite often.
Well, it's our pleasure, Jay. I
want to say though how right you are sometimes when I do my research, man. You definitely are well researched, and most of the stuff that I've been able to follow by you has been more than accurate, even if it's been sensational, and it's fantastic to see that.
It's fun though, the Hulk Hogan stuff. I like it. It made me laugh.
At least it's relative, Yeah,
reality really is that crazy. You know what I mean?
I watched that video and it made me laugh too. At the bottom of the post, at the very bottom, you included the Hulk Hogan. I'm a real American.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
Think about WWF. I don't know if we're going over it yet, but there's a lot. If you go back to the old WWF in the '80s, when I was a kid, I used to like wrestling. There was a lot of programming involved in that as well. There's a chapter in Chris Hedges' book Empire of Illusion, he devotes a whole chapter to WWF and how it was involved in really putting forth propaganda and programming for kids and I guess dumb dads that believed it. But it's a lot more in depth than you would assume, with the programming.
Well, I think it goes to the
soap opera.
It's the attention span. That's what we're getting at here. Look at where the focus is. Where people are focused, that's where you'll see the programming, because the more people that are watching, the more they have to take advantage of it. So they will program.
It wasn't accidental that Hulk Hogan joined the New World Order.
Good point.
He was America, right? He's supposed to be this goofy emblem of America, the naive, swashbuckling, goofball, independent guy, and then he joins the New World Order and becomes the bad guy.
All for the money, for the belt. He wanted to be on top. It makes a lot of sense. It does.
Well, didn't McMahon always want to be a political figure? His wife tried to run
too, as well. I would love to do.
Look at the symbology of it, though. He represents America, and America becomes a servant to the New World Order.
Jay, what people would love is if we broke down wrestling one time. I swear, people would.
We should sometime. Why not?
I don't know if people have really done that, but I think it'd be interesting because
so many great characters. I grew up with Roddy Piper.
Well, and the idea of what Jay was just talking about, the connection to this stuff. But Jay, we're just out of time. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out jaysanalysis.com. Check out the article he wrote on Katy Perry and all the stuff we were talking about tonight. I appreciate your time tonight.
Always, man. Always a pleasure, Jay.
Yeah, it was a blast.
There goes Jay Dyer. Just an awesome guy. He definitely looks at things through a different light that most people wouldn't, Kristan.
Well, that's just it. You got to look at things in depth, and there's a reason why they selected this event and that performance for that event, especially one that is that large. It is the new Olympic Stadium. This is the new Coliseum, per se, Mike, and these are the new battles of the gladiator that captivate our attention while the nation crumbles around us. So that's essentially all it is, and that's the propaganda that they're going to feed us.
Yeah, and you just got to accept it, and, if you question it, you're a conspiracy theorist, and, I saw that meme going around about the line was made of triangles, so it was Illuminati, and they just write off the fact that, people are going to say it's Illuminati, and we kind of knew that, Mark Dice was going to make a video. Everybody knew that was going to happen, but it's because it's real. That's why.
Well, I didn't want to get into this, but I don't buy the whole apocalyptic symbolism that people have, interpreted it as, because it isn't even near close to the description.
No. This isn't about end of the world. This is more about control and showing it that
exactly.
In
People need to understand that there's been some bad interpretations out there.
And manipulation, the programming. Yep. I mean, Kristan, we only have about a minute left here, so I want to make sure people hang out on TFR and stay tuned for Phoenix Rising Radio. Let me tell you, dude is an awesome broadcaster. He talks about financial aspects, really cool spiritual stuff, energy, the kind of stuff that we get into sometimes on the Rundown Live, but much more in-depth and educated, much more than ourselves, Kristan. So Phoenix Rising is up next on TFR. And then anything else, Kristan?
Yeah, guys, I want to thank 90.7 FM. All our listeners are listening live, the people in the chat. I also want to say, if you guys have a guest request, or if you guys have show tips or articles and you're a journalist, or you can contribute your art or video or your time, send us an email at showtips@therundownlive.com, showtips@therundownlive.com. Check us out, rundownlive.com.
Follow us on
Twitter. Denver and Milwaukee.
At Rundown Live, at Big T Zone.
Congratulations, Aaron Rodgers.
Go to Jay's website, jaysanalysis.com.
J-Rock.
Hang out on TFR, True Frequency, guys. It's an awesome place to be.
Real people, real radio.